Today I'm speaking about the full moon in Pisces of 2nd September 2020 here in Central Europe. This will happen about 7 in the morning. The full moon is ruled by a fallen Jupiter in Capricorn. That Jupiter will make a sextile to the moon from Capricorn, will actually overcome the full moon. And so there's a nice relationship between Jupiter's ability to support the moon while the moon is full in Jupiter's sign of Pisces. Now, the condition of Jupiter, like I said, is fallen. And so we're having to find more in less. Sometimes people say less is more. Well, I think that you can invert that and say, well, let's look for more and less. Like, what are the resources around you? What are the things available? And how can you utilize those to sort of exploit them to their full capacity or potential? And I think you see that in the world and how things are playing right now. A lot of uncertainty. I hear all over the internet and people in my life saying, I don't know what even the next month will bring, let alone 2 months to 3 months. There's so much uncertainty right now. And I think we can try to find more in that, exploit the abundance that comes sometimes with the shifting sands and the kind of the shaky ground. By Egyptian term, Venus in Cancer rules this full moon. And Venus in Cancer is also making a nice sextile. So Venus is later in zodiacal order. It's an inferior trine that Venus makes. But still, Venus can see the moon, can support the moon. And Venus is in Cancer, ruled by the moon. So there's this nice mutual reception between the moon and Venus. It gives us a chance to love our bodies, love our home environment, use that home space for relationships. It's ground zero of building relationship skills. The home environment is, and I think we can lean into that here. Now, one difficulty is that Venus is closely opposing Saturn in Capricorn, and this is a partile opposition. And what it means is it brings us back into this Capricornian struggle. But we have this idea that the self-care can come through separation. Sometimes when we are cut off from others, maybe we've had a tiff or a fight of some kind of disagreement, we can retreat into our own bedroom, right, into our own space, and try to, through that separation, analyze maybe what happened, do an inventory on a certain relational event, and sort of come to peace with it, and maybe try to change ourselves. How can I let go of certain tendencies and maybe improve my ability to relate with other people? So except for Jupiter, all traditional planets will make applying aspects within 3 degrees. And this is important because in the ancient texts, that 3-degree orb for when planets are making an aspect becomes very important. It heightens the energy of that aspect. It makes it more pronounced and more dynamic in a way. Venus makes applying aspects to 3 planets. Mercury and Saturn apply to 2 other planets. And so there's just a lot of touching going on. You can think about people being in a room. You say you have 7 people in a room and they're not talking to each other. They're silent. Well, what if 6 of the 7 are really engaged in a lot of communication and exchange? That's what we're dealing with here. And I think we feel that. Just turn on the news. It feels like it's building, right? We're building to a climax with this full moon that enjoy it, really. I think some people are more geared to enjoying a time when things are turned up quite loud, but just enjoy it. Notice, wow, there's so much happening here. There's a beauty in that. And like life, there's seasons for things. And this is a season of high activity and high dynamism. There's no fixed placements. We have no planets or lunar nodes in fixed signs. And this really gives even more power to what I was just saying about this shifting sands and kind of dynamic, activated nature of this period, is that the mutable signs are signs of change, right? They're dual signs. They share many different hats simultaneously. It's a transition energy. Cardinal signs are that burst of initiation. And so we have a lot being initiated and a lot in transition. Not much is in that stable, fixed component, that stable, fixed energy. And so, as the grounds are shifting from under us, go with change, right? It's often easier to do that than fighting it tooth and nail. If we just release and let go, the change can do what it needs to do. And you think about people in car accidents, often they say that the drunk people live because their bodies are more pliable and malleable, and then they just sort of roll with a car accident. And so sometimes they walk away unscathed. Whereas people that tense up, the bones can break. So think about just being, and don't be drinking. I don't recommend a heavy alcohol consumption. I don't think that's a way to escape right now. I think presence, sober presence, is kind of the best attitude to bring. Venus will conjoin the fixed star Procyon during the full moon. And Procyon, remember, is like Mercury and Mars. Manilius says that it bestows upon those born under him not hunting, but its weapons. And so I think this is a moment where we're getting our arsenal together, the weapons that we can utilize as we enter into this very charged and kind of unknown, powered up fall that we're about to engage in, with the election coming, with very difficult transits, with Mars going retrograde and squaring Saturn. This is a time to get your arsenal together, to plan what kind of tools you can rely on to successfully navigate the coming crisis. Really, I saw this story, Popular Mechanics. This was from earlier this week, 26 August. Russia drops declassified footage of the biggest nuke of all time, the Tsar Bomba. And so there's the idea of seeing images. That's Venus, right? Painting, colors. We see the images of the weaponry. Now, there's an idea of appreciating the gravity of weapons, of the potential destruction that they can create. Tools that we use to radically change reality. Okay, there's something quite powerful in that we even have those tools at our disposal, and you've got them. I mean, this isn't just about nuclear weapons or spears or guns or something like this. I mean, look around your room. You're probably using hair pieces and hair ties and knives and forks to eat. I mean, we have tools that we take for granted. Maybe develop a better relationship with our tools, right? Appreciate those tools and weapons that we use in our daily lives. Remember, we become the tools that we use. And so we have to be grateful for it. They're an extension of our appendages, right? They become like another hand when we hold that knife. It's an extension of the arm. So cherish the tools. Be grateful for what they do for you. You know, Leonard Cohen and his song, First We Take Manhattan, he's got this great lyric, I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons. And then they say guided, the backup singers. But they guide you, right? The weapons, the utility can guide us. The other thing is that the full moon in Pisces is conjunct the fixed star Satula. And this is a really interesting fixed star because it's the star that is in the jug that the waterman, the Aquarius waterman, holds, and he's dumping that jug over full of water onto the ground. So this is actually the point where the water's coming out of that jug, the lid of the jug. And I think this is really interesting as it gives us some fresh symbols, some really potent symbols to work with. But Manilius in Astronomica, remember this is 1st century AD, he writes that those who issue from this sign, so Aquarius, are gentle. They're a gentle sort, a lovable breed, no meanness in the heart of theirs. They are prone to suffer losses of riches. They have neither need nor sure feet. And even thus doth the urns stream flow. So there's a sense of things flowing in and out, right? You're never going to need, and this is attitudinal, mind you. I'm suggesting an attitude of abundance here with this Satula conjunction to the full moon, right? Let what's coming to you flow in, but don't jam a lid on your jug and put it under the bed, right? Keep that lid open. Let that abundance, whether it's money or energy or love, let it flow back out into the people around you. The more we give, the more we receive. We're in unprecedented territory globally with the crisis that we're in, with the uncertainty that we're in, with the economic problems. I say take the lid off your jug and be very quick to let it flow out to others around you. Abundance is real, right? Your heart is beating involuntarily. You're not making that happen. So you've been given a gift of life, and so give out to other people. And remember, Pisces is the expansive connection with all things. It's the 12th sign. It's a mutable sign. It's ruled by Jupiter, which expands things. It's a water sign, so you can think about vast oceans, the depth of the sea. You know, think about rain when it comes down. It rains on everything. Everything gets wet, and that's what Pisces is. It's kind of the wetness and actually the change of an environment. I was just in a rainstorm last night. I was walking home from a movie, and it started raining heavily, and that changed the whole scope and the whole feel of the streets. People were running. I fortunately had my umbrella, others didn't. So there's this kind of scramble and this radical retooling of an environment. Go to Rudyard here. I love the book, The Pulse of Life. I love his meditation on the 12 signs in this book. And he says that Pisces is an era of storms. So he's using that same analogy, and of wholesale disintegration. You know, water, you submerge something in water, it can destroy it. Paper gets ripped apart by water. And so this says here that the Piscean winds of destiny may impel men of vision and courage to discover many a new world as much as they do destroy or suffocate the many who are stubbornly resistant of change, or who stubbornly resist change. And that's what this message of this full moon is, right? Go with the change, release into change, give love to the people around you. Let that water saturate you and tear apart what doesn't need to be anymore, so that you cleanse that core, stability that will last through the storm. And okay, so one transit I want to point out that's upcoming here, there's a really difficult Venus transit coming up. Venus in Cancer will be separating from an opposition to Saturn in Capricorn, and then applying to a square from Mars in Aries. And this happens on the day of the full moon, about 7 hours later, 2:17 in the afternoon here in Central Europe on the 2nd of September. This is going to last for just about 2 days until the 4th of September, about noon here in Central Europe. And this is what we call an enclosure by the malefic planets. Remember, Saturn and Mars are planets that really bring trouble, right? And Venus will be jammed between the rays of those two planets via malefic aspects, as it were. Opposition is the nature of Saturn, square is the nature of Mars, and Venus is experiencing those two aspects. Just understand Venus is going to be under extreme pressure for 2 days. Really be careful. I see people taking social media breaks right now, getting offline. That might be wise. But that could also just be a metaphor and an attitude. Really take good care of your relationships right now. And remember, the moon breaks up the enclosure in the early afternoon on the 3rd of September. So that's really what I wanted to point out here. This afternoon, when after the moon makes a sextile to Saturn, and then before the moon breaks past about the 28th degree there, moves through that 28th degree, the moon will break up the enclosure. And so there's a chance here for that moon-Venus exchange to heal conflict. Again, retreating into the safety of your home, retreating into your room. Let that be a healing decision and a healing practice. Cardomancy pull. This is the waist card, the 7 of diamonds. And, we talk about earth signs and Saturn being in earth signs. This is the Taurus, the last decan of Taurus, the 3rd decan of Taurus. Saturn in an earth sign, I think we can understand that sometimes the activity we do to make money, the businesses we start fail, those activities get blocked. It's okay, right? There is a sense of something being wasted. There may be a feeling of that on the surface, but in reality, there's always lessons that we can take from our endeavors and use the lessons, reappropriate them into new endeavors. So don't let seeming waste debilitate you from moving ahead with your plans and activities. And I think the other part of it is that Taurus is a fixed sign. And so the attitude of being not willing to change is the only way that we ever waste anything, right? Doing the same thing over again and expecting different results. That is the kind of darker side of this. When Saturn appears, don't be so fixated on the problem, is how I would phrase this. And, move into your Gemini, which is the next sign. Move into that new ideas. How can you reappropriate, like I said, the lesson? All right, as always, you can book readings with me. I've changed my website up a little bit. I got some new coding here, and I like it. You can see on my front page, you've got my YouTube channel, my Instagram feed, but there's a link. The top link is where you can schedule readings now. Just click on that link, or there is a menu bar at the very top where you can just click readings, and that will take you to the reading page. I love to read. I can't wait to read for you. Talk about how these symbols are operating in your life, what opportunities may be available. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, sjanderson144.com.